Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the trauma bond and how the narcissist hooks you in the trauma bond. So let's jump in. When you meet the narcissist, they love bomb you right from the jump. You don't know anything about love bombing. You never heard the title. You don't know anything about narcissism. You're just blind to all of this and unawoke. They come in, they're new to you. They start treating you really good. They're probably the best you've ever been treated. And it doesn't seem to quit. They definitely want to be with you. There's no doubt there that they want to be with you. They make that obvious. Sex is really fast. They put you on this pedestal and you feel whole for a moment in time. It feels really good. They build you up, and in their infatuation, they tell you all these great things and how you should have been treated and how well they're going to treat you. They may start future faking right off the bat, saying they're going to buy you gifts or pay for an exotic vacation for the two of you. Something really big. They're excited and they show excitement on their face. They come in vulnerable, talking about how they were abused, and you believe it. You believe it so much, it's almost like if you found the previous source of supply, you might want to beat them up or something. Really. I mean, this is how it is. That's why you never want to tell the future supply, the current supply, after they leave you, of who the narcissist is, because they'll never believe you. In fact, they may get in a fight with you because they're going to want to protect. And the narcissist gets you in such an ego state. They pull you out of your spirit man, whatever your spirit man is, wherever you are in your spirit man. They bring you down to your ego because you start telling yourself, yeah, I should have been treated like that. I should have been treated better. They get you in your ego. And that's partially why you can't have any kind of spiritual walk while you're with them, because as soon as the narcissist comes into your life, they love bomb you and they bring you down to your ego state. From there, it's all downhill. But first, they put you on a pedestal because they're in their infatuation. They have to love bomb you to run over all your intuition's red flags that are going to come at you from your inside voice telling you it's not good. But the love bomb gets you to kick out your intuition, run it over, deny your intuition, or tell your intuition you're wrong because I'm having all these good things occur to me. And you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's part of the spell. So it's probably nostalgic for you as well because you grew up in one of these families and maybe you haven't had a narcissist love partner come to you, maybe ever. Or maybe it's been a long, long time since you had one. And it kind of feels good because it's something you're comfortable with. You haven't really discovered or processed where it's coming from, that it's actually coming from an abusive family, but it feels comfortable to you because that's all you knew growing up. And all of these types of things, they're calling you all the time, texting you all the time, wanting to stay with you and see you all the time. Sex is real fast and it's new. They also know they're in cycles and they have to get this love and trust going on as quick as they can. So even though they're infatuated with you and they never learn anything from relationship to relationship except how to be more divisive and evil, because they're always right. On the end of the situation with them, they can never be wrong, so they deny anything that's bad about themselves. And that's really what keeps them in these cycles too. And then not being able to feel love and empathy, the whole situation of not having any of the goodness, the 9 fruits of the spirit, causes the narcissist to run on these constant circles to nowhere, these cycles and circles to nowhere, from relationship to relationship. Now they know their cycles are going to be ending at the similar time. They know they don't last very long. They may not know why, or maybe they do know why, but a lot of it is in denial. But they do enjoy when they're infatuated with a new source of supply. They can't help it because they're getting high off it. Because what it does is it causes the endocrine system to pump out all of this serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. So you got your oxytocin, your serotonin, your dopamines through the roof because they're excited and you're love bombing them back, because when they start to put you on a pedestal and they're love bombing you, you feel so good And it feels unnaturally fast. The relationship's moving unnaturally fast. They're telling you they love you, they're ready to marry you, they're ready to move in, they're ready to do whatever. That's great. But even though it's moving fast, it's fun and you're enjoying it. And you never felt this way before. So why are you going to turn it down? Instead, you turn your intuition down. When you turn all of those things down that are telling you the red flags to stop, and you're having this unnatural love bombing that's moving this relationship in a direction faster than the speed of light. Just because it's okay right now doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, and it doesn't. Because everything is a process. There's a process when you leave the narcissist, there's a process when you get a divorce, and it takes time. And there's also a process in before you get married and getting to know somebody. And I always say 2 years, man. 2 years is the minimum of dating somebody. That's the bare minimum to get to know somebody and see them on a daily basis. But what happens, they put you on a pedestal, but then after a while, you start to feel like, wow, I'm feeling so good. I feel like I need to give this back to them. So you start to put them on a pedestal. And so you start to love bomb them back because you feel like you're getting this and you want to give the same reciprocity. And it seems to make sense at the time. So you do that. You start to put them on a pedestal. And they have this thing where they can never tell you no. So then you start to be the same way. You start to mirror it back. You start to not be able to tell them no because they're doing everything that you want and like. They're pampering you, so you're pampering them back. Then you start to fall for them because they came in vulnerable and they were abused or whatever from their last source of supply. They tell you they're the victim, so they're going to tell you some sad stories they went through, and then you're going to do the same thing because they're going to be data mining you, and you're going to give in and tell them anything that you got because you feel like there's trust there and they've already been in a vulnerable place to tell you all these things, but they're all lies. Nevertheless, sex is fast and you're headlong deep in a 2 year relationship in just a couple of months, it feels like. Then they start to breadcrumb you or ghost you, or they start to put some rules on you, or they rage out on you once because you did something and it wasn't a big deal, or you said something to them and it slighted them. So they start to be upset, to say the least. So to make all these judgments on you for things that you do. And so for these judgments, you start to try to mold your life more towards them because they really are very emotional about these things. But it could be nothing, very little. It could be like you had Diet Coke in the fridge and she doesn't like having soda in the house, so you agree to not have soda in the house. We'll just drink it when we're out there. And that's something that happened to me. Mine told me when I was getting a soda out of the fridge in my house, her and her son at their house, they only have water at home and they only drink soda when they're out and about. And she was saying it in a condescending way. So I turned to her and agreed. I said, well, then I can do that for you. But I noticed at that moment in time, as I rewound after my intuition woke me up and got me off of this narcissist, that came back to me. And that was a key point where this walking on eggshells started. That I needed to think 5 to 10 times about something before I would speak it or suggest it or talk to her about it, because it could be a problem. And I don't need a problem with her because it can become really aggressive. So in all that, they start to breadcrumb you and ghost you maybe for a few days. And what they're doing is they did the empathy check by telling you the sad stories and checking to see if you have empathy and how well you were going to take the situations and how comforting you were going to be. Once you pass all these little tests, they start to breadcrumb you and ghost you as if you don't matter. So then you start questioning them and they start to give you indifference. Well, what has just gone on is during this part of the trauma bond, they're testing you to see if you're going to call them right away and question them if everything's okay. Did I upset you? Or are you wanting to break up? And if you do that right away, then they know that they got you hooked into this trauma bond. But if you just carry on with life as if nothing matters, you don't call them or anything, they'll have to come back in and love bomb you some more until they get you hooked. And so that's like a tester. And when they put you on a pedestal and then you put them on a pedestal and they can't say no to you and then you won't say no to them, and then they pamper you and you pamper them, they're teaching you how they want to be treated. So when they start to ghost you or breadcrumb you, you continue to put them on a pedestal, to admire them, adore them, worship them. You continue to pamper them, and you continue to not say no to them or be able to. And in fact, you start to chase. The chase is starting already. Once you get to a full devalued state and you're out of fuel, then they'll discard you. Or you'll discard yourself or discard them. You'll discard them because you might be old enough. This is like too much. I've been through some of this type of stuff before. Or you agree to go separate ways. But nevertheless, what happens here is that in this trauma bond, they put you on the pedestal to build up and to get all those endorphins going. You've never been a high like this. You've never been love bombed, because nobody does this. Only people with personality disorders do this. So they gas you up in your ego state, and all of the serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine's going for both of you. For them, because you're doing the same thing to them, and for you. But then they drop you all the way down to Death Valley. That's like the lowest point you ever been. After they come in, and before they break up with you or you break up with them, you'll have probably an argument and inject everything onto you. And then they leave, or you end it, but it's only for a time. So what happened is now you got all this cortisol and all this depression going on, and you're used to all these dopamine hits, like heavy dopamine hits, and serotonin and oxytocin, all these great things, it feels like. Now you're unaware of your endocrine system can cause all these issues, and that you can get addicted to a hot and a cold. But this is what they did. It's the trauma bonding of you. They do a large amount of intermittent reinforcement. And then with that breadcrumbing, before they discard you, you discard them. They give you indifference. They breadcrumb you. They give you the carrot, and then they hit you with the stick. They give you the carrot, which is a little love bombing, and then they hit you with the stick. They rage out on you, give you indifference. And then you feel like there's so many things that bothers the narcissist that you have to ask them for permission, or if it's okay with them, before you do it. And they give you so little validation in anything, you don't know where you stand, so you ask them, how did I do? Or what the hell, you know? And so they're getting you into looking to them for all your validation. This is where you're starting to become codependent now. You may not have been codependent, or you may have had little inklings of this, but what they do is they inflame everything. If you had a little bit of paranoia in your life, or if a little bit of depression in your life, or a little anxiety in your life, that didn't cause any problems. Well, when the narcissist comes into your life, if you had a little bit of paranoia, anxiety, or depression, now it inflames it. And it's like an open wound. And now it's really a problem. So the same thing goes with codependency. If you had just a little inkling of codependency, now it's a big issue. Because that's what they do. They open any little tiny wound and make it a big laceration. And then they leave. And they go right to somebody else, as if it's no big deal. And in that love bomb phase, they had the best first impression you've ever had with anybody you've ever been on a date with. So you have that first impression stuck in your head in the beginning of that love bomb phase, where it's like, I want to get back to that. But then when they leave you, you're in all these depressive states, and they project it onto you, all their negative energy. So you start to internalize everything they projected onto you. So what they're doing is they're unloading all of this negative energy that's inside them, and they're throwing it onto you, and they're claiming that you are the issue, that you're doing all these things that they're actually literally doing, and like cheating and lying and stealing, whatever. Everything they're telling you is exactly, this is the one time the narcissist will tell the truth, through projection. When they project onto you what they are, is what they're really truly doing. They're projecting it, and you start to absorb that. So they get you to absorb all of this negative energy through the projection on their way out, and internalize all of these negative attributes that they're throwing on you. And when they do that and you absorb it, you internalize it, meaning you believe it, you accept it. Whether you believe it or not, you accept it, and you feel bad about it, and you have to shake that off. It's kind of like you are believing it. When you accept something, you believe it, even if you don't believe it. You're taking it as if you believe it. And when you do this, you switch energy with them, and they absorb all of your positive energy. As that goes in, whoop, your positive energy goes out to them, and they walk away happy. And you'll notice this if you actually pay attention. But then after a while, you start to miss them, need them, gotta have them, you're freaking out, all kinds of stuff. You're chasing them. You're doing anything that they need. You want to talk to them. This is because they got you hooked. And this is when you get all of this serotonin, oxytocin, and you get all this dopamine hitting you, and then it's not there anymore. It's an addiction. If you've been getting hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold through the first. So it went from way up here on the pedestal to way down here. So it was a big gap. And then they kind of do this with you. Hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. That's what they do. So they go way up here, then way down here to start it. And then hot and cold, hot and cold. And that's what they do. And you never know when it's going to happen. But you need that next hit. Your endocrine system has got you addicted to validation, just like the narcissist does, and needing to be with them and for them to pull that hot with you. But then they pull the cold and they get you addicted to them and then they leave. So you're a fiend. You are a fiend needing them, needing their validation, wanting to be with only them because they're your drug. And they know how to perform that drug just right. Nobody else does, because nobody else around you is disordered like that and treating you like that. So now you're trying to deal with all the depression, all this anxiety, and all of this paranoia, and all the stuff they threw on you, which makes it worse because it's all their negative, sinful energy. And you're trying to burn it off, and you got this addiction. And the only person that can solve the addiction is them. They are addicted to these hits as well. And that's why they say that they are addicted to people. But they make you addicted to them in the same way, a very similar way. I think it's much worse for them because they, not being able to feel empathy, they can't feel the 9 fruits of the Spirit. So in the case of them, they can't feel anything that's goodness. See, at least we have the opportunity to feel the good things of life. And those have their own highs to them. But all they feel as far as highs go for them is the high of dopamine, feeling great. And, you know, the dopamine can't last forever. So what happens then is that's when they would like to perform sadistic things and evil things on people and put fear in people, because then they walk on adrenaline. They're both, the adrenaline is the next thing. So they go from, they're addicted to both the endorphins and the serotonin and the dopamine, and then they're also addicted to the adrenaline from treating people bad and getting over on them, stepping on them and putting fear into them. And so these are the two things that regulate them. Adrenaline, from doing adrenaline rushes, from doing evil things and evil deeds and duping people and putting fear in people and scaring people and making them sad. That's what they run on when there is no dopamine left on those days. And then when that's not available because they have no supply or they're having breaks in supply, then they're in depression. So this is kind of the idea of how they feel and why they feel the way they do and why they're addicted. But they're addicted to it because they have no inside voice. They have no fruits of the Spirit, no spirit man. And so they have to continue to get it. And they try to get that all day. But your endocrine system can only produce so much dopamine. And if you use up, say, if you had a great night of partying with your friends and you use up all your dopamine, the next day you may have depression. You're going to have a low end until it builds back up. So with many highs or many lows, and that's a fact. So with the narcissist, in my opinion, when they can't feel because they can't produce any more dopamine, then they move to the adrenaline side and they stick to that and then switch it up. And then in between that, they have to deal with bouts of depression. But that's how it all works. And when you think you're in love with the narcissist, you're kind of like a dope fiend. And when you get that hit, then you think it's love. But really, you're addicted to getting that hit more than anything. I mean, I'm not here to tell you you didn't love the narcissist. I know they always say it's just a trauma bond. But that one's hard to answer because I think some of us felt like, we threw a lot of love at them. But, we didn't really know them. We didn't really know them because nothing about them is true. And nothing we thought was true. So we were kind of in love with a fantasy. And when you're trying to come off that trauma bond, you do a lot of things that you wouldn't normally do, but you're addicted to them. And because you're addicted to them, you make bad decisions because you want to get that next hit maybe. Or you don't want to give up on them. Maybe, is it because you're trauma bonded? Generally, that's the case. You're trauma bonded and you're telling yourself you're in love with them, but really what you are is you're in love with somebody who never existed, and you're trauma bonded to that narcissist. And again, for people to think this isn't spiritual, it's crazy. And you can make a lot of bad decisions. You can lose a lot of good things in your life if you're not careful. You can be out of sorts. And so I want to go over that today, just to give you an idea of how I feel it works and how I've never really heard it explained online. So if you can give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up, love y'all. Till next time, soldier up, peace, we out.